What's up, Packer fans? I'm Untitled Chapter, host of Monologue Packers podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking out this video. Week 5 NFL finally here. It's Cowboys week. You got to get excited about Cowboys week. We've had some really good late comeback victories against the Cowboys. These are my favorite games to cover. These are my favorite games to watch, quite frankly, because I hate the Cowboys. I dislike the Cowboys strongly is what I should say. If you are a Cowboys fan watching this, I apologize. This is a Packers podcast. And by the way, it is time to pour ourselves another Packers podcast. So real quick before we get started, as always, click that subscribe button, like the video. 1,000 subscribers, I am getting rid of this beautiful canvas, this wonderfully pixelated canvas that you will get to see, or you have a chance to see in person. I'm at 714 as far as subscribers, so a little less than 300 subscribers to go. And the channel's been growing. It's been a lot of fun. I've had some live videos, a lot of fun with that too. Some Q&As, people tuning in. It's been a great time. This thing is growing. We're just starting the second quarter of the NFL season. Got a long ways to go until February when the Super Bowl. But let's kick things off to an extent as far as what we want to talk about. I'm not going to spend a lot of time discussing or recapping what happened in last week's game against the Philadelphia Eagles. First off, I did do a live Q&A on Tuesday night, so some of you did tune in and chatted with that. If you want to hear some of my thoughts on that game, go ahead and check out the other video, previous video. It is posted. You can click on that one. It's a little bit of a tangent at times here and there. And then secondly, I had a difficult time analyzing the game on Thursday night because I was at Lambeau. I had seats in the end zone, so I'm not sure if just the excitement of being there or the fact that I'm not really sure, what was going on half the game when the ball was on the opposite side of the field. But it was hard for me to analyze, quite frankly, being there in person. I'm way used to, or more used to, watching these games on TV and analyzing them that way with the instant replays and actually knowing where the first down line is. So go ahead, go and check out that video if you'd like to. My biggest takeaways from the Packers' first loss of the season last week against the Eagles. The defense is obviously vulnerable at stopping the run, which will be a major topic on this show. So we'll get into that a little bit later. The run game for the Packers, quite obviously, is not where it needs to be. Aaron Jones has been struggling. Jamal Williams left the game with an injury on Thursday night. Dexter Williams was inactive. They brought in Danny Vitale, which filled in to an extent, but he didn't really get anything going. So the Packers run game is still, I think, a quarter of the way through the season. That is a huge headline that the Packers can't stop the run, and the offense just, quite frankly, can't get the ball moving on the run game side of things. But Aaron Rodgers, he can still ball out. He was phenomenal on Thursday night, threw for 422 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have the one lone interception very late in the game, which probably should have been challenged by the NFL or reviewed by the NFL because it seemed like it was pass interference. But I'm also not someone who is going to blame the refs for a win or a loss. The Packers had plenty of opportunities to win the game and stay undefeated on the season, but they let their opportunities slip. And that's just, unfortunately, how the cookie crumbles. Rodgers did have another 46 yards rushing, which is about double the total production of the rushing game out of Aaron Jones and Danny Vitale. And then you have to get the ball to Davante Adams, and that's exactly what the Packers managed to do against the Eagles. They managed to figure out that if they have a game plan, or if Rodgers knows that he wants to get the ball to Adams, that they can more than happily get that done. He finished with 10 catches, 180 yards receiving. Probably ends with a touchdown or two if he does stay healthy and not leave the game early. But like I said, that's behind us. We are here to look forward. Adams left the game with the injury. And speaking of the injuries, the Packers enter Week 5 with 13 players listed on the injury report. So this is as of Thursday's injury report. By the time I am recording this and this video goes live, the Packers will have had their Friday practice. Adams possibly may participate in that practice, but I imagine that he will not practice all that much. 10 players listed as limited participants or did not practice, and of course the biggest name is Davante Adams on that list. He hasn't practiced all week due to that turf toe injury that kept him out of the game late against the Eagles. After a medical consultation, it doesn't seem like this is going to be anything that is long-term. I do foresee him potentially missing Sunday's game against the Cowboys, but he is a competitor. He wants to go out there. He obviously knows the importance of this game down there in Dallas, and he has not officially been ruled out for Sunday's game, but I would not be completely surprised if he takes 1 week off and then comes back the following week against the Detroit Lions. Jamal Williams is also currently on the injury report. He is going through concussion protocol. He left the game very early Thursday night on that just dirty hip and left on a stretcher. All things considering, if you leave on a stretcher and the next week you are just going through concussion protocol, he's been in some of the team meetings, he's been at the practices in a limited capacity, just from the standpoint of some walkthroughs and whatnot. But that's a huge arrow pointing up as far as that injury from Jamal Williams. We'd love to get him back, add him to that rushing attack that we are developing, quite frankly. And that means that 6th-round pick Dexter Williams will now get his first shot of getting some significant snaps and chances against the Dallas Cowboys. Brian Bulaga also left the game Thursday night with an injury against the Eagles. He will be active. Quite frankly, he is a tough competitor. Prior to recording this video, I got into a little bit of a heated discussion on Facebook where people were blowing up Brian Bulaga about how he's always injured. But the guy plays through injuries. He might get injured a lot, but he's a tough motherfucker. He plays through his injuries. I am more than confident that he will be active and play a significant role in the Packers' game plan on Sunday. And even better, the most promising news of this injury report is that you have Montravius Adams, Oren Burks, and Kyler Fackrell. They all came back in limited capacity. It does seem like Montravius Adams will be a go for Sunday. And then Oren Burks, they might take it a little bit easy on him. It sounds like a little bit of special teams play. Perhaps Pettin will feel confident throwing him into a couple rotations on the defensive side of the ball. And then Kyler Fackrell as well. All three of these guys are going to be huge factors and assets when it does come to stopping Ezekiel Elliott, and they will do wonders for this rush defense and what we need to accomplish as far as that's the weakest link on the defensive side of the ball. So the Dallas Cowboys, they enter week 5 just like the Green Bay Packers at 3-1. They are also coming off of their first loss of the season in week 4. They lost to 12-10 to Teddy Bridgewater and the New Orleans Saints. That is, that's fun for me to say. The Cowboys are kind of a tough, quite frankly, the Cowboys are a tough team to figure out at this point. So their first 3 wins of the season came against 3 really bad teams. They had the Giants, the Redskins, and the Dolphins. They jump out to a 3-0 lead in the NFL. Those 3 teams that they beat, they have a combined record of 2-10, and the 2 wins that the Giants have had, and they're the only ones that have had wins, the Giants, the 2 that they have had came after the fact that they benched Eli Manning, their quarterback, and put in Daniel Jones to fill in at that quarterback position. So they haven't had a whole lot of tough competition. Then they finally lose their first game against the Saints, which is a fairly good team. Obviously, you'd like to probably have Drew Brees in that lineup, but they're finding ways to win. Their defense does look good. It flies around the field. Elliott was held to only 35 rushing yards on Sunday and off of 18 carries. That was the 3rd fewest yards that he picked up throughout his entire career. But he did have the lone touchdown for the Dallas Cowboys, who managed to put up those wonderful 10 points against the Saints. And then Prescott had just a Kirk Cousins type of performance the other day on Sunday against the Saints. He had 223 passing yards off of 33 attempts and finished with a 76.8 quarterback rating. So just a very mediocre performance by Prescott. It's really disappointing, especially that they were down in New Orleans. They just couldn't get anything going on the offensive side of the ball. The defense didn't have a terrible day. They managed to get to Teddy Bridgewater 5 times for sacks. I believe there was a loss of 44 yards total of those 5 sacks. So they were getting to him. They did keep New Orleans out of the end zone for the entire game. But they gave up 4 field goals, which was just enough to kind of edge it out. And at the end of the day, they failed to come away with a win. And even Bridgewater, who finished the game with a 17.8 quarterback rating, managed to walk away from that game with a victory. And as we've always said, a win in the NFL is a win in the NFL. Our week 1 victory against the Bears was not pretty, but it was a victory nonetheless, and it's proven to be a huge asset because it is the tiebreaker against the Bears, because both of us are sitting at 3-1 at this moment. When you boil it down, the Cowboys have a good team. My gut reaction walking out of Lambeau Field Thursday night after that loss was that Elliott would run all over us and the Packers were going to be in trouble. They just couldn't stop the run whatsoever against the Eagles, and there was about 8 minutes left in the game. Philadelphia had the ball. I thought for sure that they would just continue to ground and pound all over the Packers, run out the clock, and we would not even get a chance to get back in the game. So I'm obviously, my biggest concern coming out of Thursday night was we didn't stand a chance against Elliott. But they too, the Dallas Cowboys too, are struggling with a set of injuries, specifically along that offensive line. So you look at both starting tackles, they don't look like they're going to be active or will play. So you have left tackle Tyron Smith. He's already been ruled out of the game. He will not participate on Sunday. And then their right tackle, Lael Collins, being a game time decision, also had not practiced at all throughout the week. So these are your two pillars on both sides of that offensive line. They're looking like they are going to have to go with backups for the Dallas Cowboys, and that creates a beautiful opportunity for Za'Darius and Preston Smith to put pressure on the quarterback, but that is only if we can keep them from running the ball and force them to pass the ball. Starting guard Zach Martin also has been a limited participant this week. He's been struggling with a back issue ever since the summer, though, and I expect the Cowboys to put him in the starting lineup. I expect Zach Martin to be playing, but you have three starting offensive linemen that are going through injuries, that are struggling with injuries, and that's something that will definitely benefit for the Packers defensive line to get in there. So the combination of a banged up offensive line by the Cowboys and a Packers defensive line potentially getting back some players like Montravius Adams and Oren Burks and Kyler Fackrell, this could be a huge advantage for that Packers defense and starts to sway the pendulum a little bit more in the Packers' favor, in my opinion, as far as them being able to go down to Dallas and come away with a victory. So Sunday will be the 37th meeting, only the 37th meeting between these two teams. The Packers do lead the series 19-17, 19 wins to 17 losses. Green Bay has won 7 of the last 8 contests against Dallas, and ever since 2013, it looks like the Packers have gone 5-1, and Green Bay is 3-0 against Dallas at AT&T Stadium down there in Arlington. And Green Bay is 4-0 at AT&T Stadium if you count their Super Bowl victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers. As I mentioned, both teams enter week 5 at 3-1 records. Both are leading their divisions respectively, but both of them have division opponents that are hot on their heels. You look at Chicago, sitting there 3-1 as well. I think they have a fairly easy matchup against the Oakland Raiders. It is over in London on Sunday morning, so that could be always a wild card as far as what you're truly going to get out of your football teams. But then you look at the Dallas Cowboys on the opposite side, where I thought that the Eagles needed a must-win against the Packers last Thursday. They came away with that. Now if the Eagles manage to win again this week, and the Cowboys find themselves with a loss, those guys are both tied with records of 3-2, and the NFC East is a little bit more competitive than we originally thought. Hell, even the Giants could come away with a victory and also be at 3-2, and then I think the Redskins will just decide to call it a season, or if they haven't already. Since 2008, Green Bay leads the NFC with 60% winning percentage on the road in October, and of course the biggest headline, or something that many Green Bay Packer fans will notice that are casual viewers of the Green Bay Packers, is that good old Randall Cobb will face off against his previous team for the first time in his career. Yes, he spent his whole career down or up in Green Bay, and now he will be rocking that lovely Dallas Cowboys blue on Sunday, and that will be definitely something weird to watch. I've seen a couple games throughout this season of Randall Cobb. I have him in my fantasy, so I've been following him to an extent, but just watching him go against the Packers will be definitely a sight for sore eyes. Aaron Rodgers' career stats against Dallas, they include an overall passer rating of 103.5, 2,100 yards, 15 touchdowns. He's only thrown 2 interceptions against the Dallas Cowboys in his career. In his last game back in 2017, which also took place in week 5 of that season, Rodgers finished with a 122.9 passer rating, 221 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the last touchdown, of course, being that game-winning 12-yard dime to Davante Adams with 11 seconds left. You gotta love what you have out of Rodgers, and it's no secret to anyone that Rodgers has been otherworldly when it comes to his performances in Dallas. When asked about Rodgers' performances and the way that he plays down there in Dallas, he went on to say in a locker room interview on Tuesday, "Some places you feel really comfortable. It's a beautiful stadium with a jumbotron and the way it's set up. You walk through the club and you go onto the field and there's a lot of stimuli. We've had some fun games there over the years with the catch by Cookie, which is Jared Cook, along the sideline. And the last time we were there, we hit Davante to win that game. It was all very special." So Rodgers feels comfortable in Dallas. I feel comfortable with Rodgers playing in Dallas. we have some history there. Obviously, these are the teams that faced off in the Ice Bowl. We've had some playoff history throughout the last years. There's been a lot of drama. The Dallas Cowboys do not want to lose the game to Green Bay. Quite frankly, they've had too many heartbreaking losses. We have had their number for a number of years. So that brings us to the keys to victory heading into Sunday. So key to victory number 1 is going to be obvious. It's the most clear path to coming away with a victory in Dallas, and that is slow down the run. So defense got put on notice Thursday night, quite frankly. There was a huge emphasis leaving that game that the Packers need to work on stopping the run. I've talked about it previously in the video, but the feeling inside the Packers locker room is that this is something that can be fixed. A lot of the issues in the run defense have to do with fundamentals. Quite frankly, it's not a personnel problem as much as it is a fundamental problem. So a lot of the guys were out of their gaps. They weren't sticking to their gaps. They were allowing the Philadelphia Eagles to create running lanes and kind of run through the Packers all night long. And then when you do get blocked, or when the guys were getting blocked off the line of scrimmage, the key is to not stay blocked, to get off of those, make a move, get a tackle, knock the guy back across from you, and win those one-on-one battles. These are words that were commented or echoed by Mike Pettin throughout this week's press conference. And I think I feel confident enough in the Packers that they will figure out this run defense, because quite frankly, if they do not figure out this run defense, it will be the bane to our existence the rest of the season. It is the Achilles heel to the Packers going to the playoffs and making a deep playoff run, to missing the playoffs, because it is the formula of success for so many teams to just go out there and run on them. I do think they'll figure it out. They have plenty of time to figure it out, and there's no better time to start than when you face off against Ezekiel Elliott. Elliott enters week 5 with the 8th highest rushing yards of the season. He has 324 yards rushing. He's averaging 4.4 yards per carry, and he's averaging 81 yards per game. So I don't think you need to completely shut down Ezekiel Elliott to have a win. So I did say slow down the run. I do believe that's important. This is the same thing with Dalvin Cook in week 2, is that if you can slow down the run and at least not let them, get a momentum going as far as that run game. It just seems like when Philadelphia wanted to run the ball, they could. There was no kind of breakup in it. There was no stopping them at the line of scrimmage. So if you can stop Elliott from at least getting into a rhythm, stuff him at the line a handful of times throughout the game, and let Dallas know that it won't be easy sledding throughout the game, that should be enough to come away with a victory down there in Dallas. Now, it's no secret, Dallas loves to run the ball. They are very early on in the down, so first and second down, they love to run the ball. And then they create a third, on the third down, they like to create a play action, essentially creating that big, play down the field. So if we can eliminate yardage picked up on the early downs, that will definitely do wonders, and keep Dallas off the field. Outside of the fundamental corrections the Packers will be looking to make, like I said, Montravius Adams' status will affect the impact of this rush defense, and then Kenny Clark too needs to have a significant or a big game performance on Sunday as well. Prescott is a more than capable quarterback. I don't have really any major flaws or complaints with Prescott. I think he's easily better than Trubisky, better than Joe Flacco, better than even Kirk Cousins over there in Minnesota. But we need to put the ball in his hands and allow our edge rushers to go against those tackles on the outside and get pressure on him. And then that should hopefully result in some turnovers throughout the game. So Dak has thrown 3 interceptions throughout the first 4 weeks of the season. Green Bay came off of that Philadelphia Eagle game where they didn't even register a turnover, which was shocking because they led the league in turnovers before that. So put the ball in Prescott's hands, and let your shutdown corners and Alexander and Kevin King kind of go to work and really just slow down the run. Quite frankly, slow down the run. Key to victory number 2 has to deal with the next man up. So if Davante Adams and Jamal Williams don't suit up, the Packers will need players to step up in their place. So the Packers have plenty of talent. In my opinion, they have loads of talent on that wide receiving depth chart. I know there's a lot of pundits out there that say the Packers need to go out there, sign a wide receiver. AJ Green, Des Bryant, Antonio Brown, you name it, they want them signed. But I don't think that the Packers have to do that. I think they have the talent that they need in that wide receiving room. Allison finished last week's game with 52 yards, 3 catches. He had 1 touchdown, and most of that production did come in the second quarter or late in the second quarter before closing out the half, where the Packers were able to make it 20-21 heading into halftime. But he will need to have a bigger performance and step up for sure against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling, it seems more likely to be the receiver that will get an increase in passes thrown in his direction. He currently is second on the team as far as receiving yards with 217. He's had 16 receptions, 1 touchdown on the season. But he has the speed. He's a very fast guy. He has the speed to create separation, get downfield, make big plays, and we'll obviously need him to step up if Adams is not capable of playing on Sunday. Outside of those two, of course, you have Kumaro, you have Lazard, you have Shepard. All of these guys are going to get their chances on Sunday, I believe, to make plays or make an impact. And this is really where, in the previous 4 weeks where we talked about why have we not seen Kumaro, why have we not seen some of these other receivers, Dallas does not have a ton of film on these guys, and it kind of becomes a little bit of an X factor for Green Bay to come in with these unknown receivers, unless you watch, previous film from 2016, 2017, when Kumaro caught that Hail Mary at the end of the Arizona Cardinals game. So I love the fact, I think all these guys are more than capable of catching the ball. They will make plays. Aaron Rodgers makes his receivers better. So he just has to trust that the receivers will be in the right spot at the right time. Trust his receivers, get the ball to him. Don't hold on to it or hesitate in any capacity. Go out there, sling the ball, Rodgers. You will be fine. And then as far as the running game, Jamal Williams more than likely will not be off of concussion protocol, will not be active for the game. So Dexter Williams will not only be active on Sunday because he was inactive on Thursday, but I expect him to get his fair share of carries in the backfield. And I love the prospect of this rookie finally getting his chance to shine on a regular season game in the NFL. And I'm most excited to see what he can do versus any of the other players that we need to step up in the Packers locker room. So he's a 6th round pick. His opportunity is right here in front of him to go out there and present itself. I love watching his footage out there in college. His ability to make a one-cut move and turn up field was his strong suit in college. However, he has been a little bit too hesitant, at least in his games in the preseason, so this is a concern for him. We just need to make sure that he holds on to the ball, he picks up blocks for Rodgers, and he doesn't hesitate. He makes those cuts when he has the opportunities, because we can't just rely on Aaron Jones to go out there and be the sole running back for the Packers. And I don't think Danny Vitale, although he was kind of a preseason wonder boy for the Green Bay Packers, maybe they'll game plan a way for him to be more active in Sunday's game against the Cowboys, but I didn't see a whole lot of him on Thursday night against the Eagles that was jumping off the film. Third and final key to victory, I will keep extremely quick. So this one is win the field position battle. So opponents have returned 3 kickoffs against the Packers this season, and 2 of them have been for more than 60 yards. So in week 3, Denver returned a kick for 60 yards. In week 4, Philadelphia returned for 67 yards. And couple that with a kickoff out of bounds by Crosby on Thursday night and just a poor punting performance from J.K. Scott on Thursday night, the Packers need to go out there and win the field position battle. Packers can't allow Dallas to start their drives from midfield, and the offense needs to get the ball from at least the 25-yard line or closer to the opposition's end zone. So last week, Packers had 10 possessions throughout the entire game. 50% of those possessions were within the 25-yard line, and then 3 of those possessions started from the 10-yard line. So you just can't have that. You can't have the Packers trying to go 90 yards to score a touchdown. You can't have them going 80 yards to score a touchdown. You have to try and tilt that field position a little bit better. And then we have to force the Cowboys on Sunday to go the length of the field if they have any chance of scoring any points. If the defense can play to their potential, tilt the field possession so a banged-up Packers offense can get the ball in favorable field positions to start their drives, I think that will be a key to victory. Obviously, we can talk about turnovers. Obviously, we can talk about getting pressure on the quarterback. But I'd love to see an improvement as far as where we start our drives, and hopefully it's somewhere a little bit more favorable than it was last week against the Eagles. So, game prediction time. I absolutely love the Cowboys versus the Packers. Like I said, I mentioned this prior, right when I started the video. The winner of this game is most likely going to join the Seattle Seahawks as the team to beat in the NFC division or NFC conference. And yes, I don't consider the 49ers to be a team to beat, but you have the Rams who suffered their second loss last night to Seattle. You have the Saints who are managing to squeak by with some victories, although they have a Drew Brees that they need to get back into their lineup. The Bears, surprise, have a defense, but are rocking their backup quarterback this week, and the Eagles are trending up. But I think, quite frankly, the Packers let that game slip more than the Eagles coming through and blowing out or surprising the Green Bay Packers. I feel like I need to stay unbiased when it comes to these predictions, but my inner Packers fan really wants to take the Green Bay Packers, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So the Packers win 24-20. Yes, since 2012, the Packers are 5-26 on the road against the winning team. Yes, the numbers owe Dallas a victory because they just haven't been able to beat Green Bay in the past. Yes, Devontae Adams could be inactive on Sunday. Yes, the Packers defense hasn't showed a single sign of stopping the run, but the Packers have Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is the mayor of Jerry World, and as long as he's under center, I have to take the Packers over the Cowboys. This is going to be a big game. This is a very early must-win game for the Packers because you're going against a team that is more than likely going to be competing for one of those playoff spots and home field possession when the playoffs come around. So you got to go down to Dallas. You got to win a game on the road. You have to beat a competitive team. Get yourself back on track because the Lions are just around the corner, and the Lions are better than I would have ever imagined. So Packers come away with a win, 24-20. Don't give up on this game until there are zeros at the very end of that clock, because if there's one thing that we know is that these teams are both capable of making last-minute drives, late game-ending drives. And I think the Packers will find themselves on the victory side and move to 4-1. I haven't picked against them yet this year, by the way. And I know that's foolish of me, but we have a good team. I have to love the Packers and what they're able to do. So I'm going to keep picking them at least for a couple more weeks. Thanks for watching. The game is a national televised game. So if you are anywhere in the country outside of Denver or Los Angeles, you should pick up the game. But because it is a nationally televised game, you can stream it online as well. So there's a little bit of input for you. The game kicks off at 3:25 p.m. Central. It is America's Game of the Week. And I will be live again next Tuesday, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Central, where we will review and recap the game against the Dallas Cowboys. And if you want to follow me, go ahead, follow me on Twitter at PourAnotherPack. I will probably put that somewhere in the video down below, but follow me there. I will be tweeting out throughout the game, giving you some of my inputs, my thoughts as the game progresses. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I will see you on the internet. Thanks for watching.